we talk about Caitlin Clark in the way that she kind of just took the league by storm. But who do you feel like was bigger? Do you feel like it was Caitlin Clark, or do you feel like it was Diana Taurasi? Okay,
it's Caitlin Clark, and it's not even because Caitlin Clark is necessarily better than Diana Taurasi. I just think the tools that are at the disposal of Caitlin Clark allow for her to be, just bigger. Social media changes the way we get to interact with people like Caitlin Clark, and Diana unfortunately did not have that, or fortunately, because she's like the Charles Barkley of the WNBA. Let me just be very clear. Like, Diana Taurasi be saying some wild stuff. She ain't no shy cutesy. No. She gonna let you know how she feel about everything. Mad inappropriate. Bang, bang, dressed in all black, gang. Welcome to another episode of The Fumble. I'm your guy, Rodney, Rikai, Samaria, Terry. What's up? Got the Aaliyah swoop back in the building? You must be in the A, shawty.
No, I got it from Detroit because she's from Detroit. Come on, Rodney.
My bad.
But you had a premiere last night. Please tell me about it.
Yeah. It wasn't actually my film. It was the film of a loved one who I had to accompany throughout the entirety of the day. So, I was just being a supportive friend.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good. Shout out to you being in Atlanta, though. We're eating healthy, right? A lot of greens, not too much grease.
Is that a segue into Zion, our first story?
Oh, you know what? I think that is a perfect segue to get into Zion, who's looking slim and trim.
So according to NBA.com, Zion Williamson is listed at an impressive 264 pounds, his lightest weight since being drafted back in 2019. Now, Zion has played in 15 games since the start of the new year, averaging 24.7 rebounds in these last 2 months. Rodney, are we witnessing Zion turn a new leaf here?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the thing that really started this is his new tattoo around his belly button. I don't know if you've seen this.
No, I think it's a year old. I saw it, but I think he got it last year.
Did he?
Naruto? Yeah.
He is tripping. Men with tattoos around their belly button can't be trusted. I'm going to be honest. That's a bridge too far for me. But it is good to see Zion looking like he's taking his health seriously. Obviously, his career has been marred by injury to start. And so anything that could put him in a better position to be functional in his body, to stay off of the injured list, I think is a good thing for not just him, but for the entire league. The league really wanted him to be one of their faces. And so hopefully he's turning a corner to be able to be just that.
Yeah, and I feel like he went through a lot of low points in the last year. I mean, he was the butt of a lot of jokes, not just the eating, but then maybe some other decisions that he's made off the court.
There was so many jokes in there. Oh, wait. There was so many jokes in there that I had to really fight to suppress all the jokes. The butt of jokes, the eating butt. It was a lot of things that I could have.
Not the butt. Why you keep saying butt? Anyways, I feel like when stuff like that happens, obviously it's going to make or break a person. And I feel like this is making him, he's really locked in. He's like honing in on what's important. And that's great because, like you said, the league wants Zion, and we want to see him. We want to see him dunking. We want to see him healthy.
We want to see that entire New Orleans Pelicans team healthy.
Yes. Yeah,
there was some really high expectations for them coming into this season, and they've obviously underperformed. Probably one of the most disappointing teams in the entire NBA this season, outside of another team we'll talk about later in the Philadelphia 76ers. But, with Zion's numbers, we want to see his new body translate into actual success, and not just from an individual standpoint, but having team success. That is the barometer by which he will be measured. Can Zion be somebody who can be the face of your organization and make you a legitimate championship contender? I don't know. I don't know if the way his style of ball translates to that without having another elite wing perimeter scorer on his team or an elite point guard. But time will tell. But it looks like he's finally giving himself some time to actually be formidable on the court in the way that we all expected for him coming out of Duke,
Yeah. And if they add another player to the Pelicans to help Zion, or he's kind of raising his stock a little bit. So maybe he could be picked up by another team or traded or whatever. So
how much would you give up for Zion? If you were another NBA franchise, what do you?
I think it depends on how well he closes out the season. I think him losing the weight is a good start. I think that he's still playing. I mean, he's averaging 24.7 rebounds. I think those are good numbers. So it just depends on how well he closed out the season. If he's healthy to end the season, how well the Pelicans do as a whole.
Would you consider making him the face of a franchise?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I would. Yeah.
Okay. Like as
Because I
the
just
guy.
see how like even the way like even in New Orleans, I know that they may have like this love-hate relationship with him, but even the way that like he was dunking and they went crazy
Yeah.
in the arena, I'm like, come on, like he's exciting to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, I'm
He's
worried.
still young.
I would
Oh,
be very concerned. I feel like he needs to train with the NFL guys. I think that his body type is not really
yes.
conducive to playing NBA basketball. And so I think he has to train differently than most of his NBA peers. I had a conversation with a cat during Super Bowl that played in the NFL, and I was like, yo, he needs to train with y'all because y'all train for power more so than the fluidity of basketball. Zion is not, he's a fluid athlete, but he's like still very husky, even at this
Yes.
svelte weight. So
He's built like a defensive lineman.
yeah, and I think he's dressing better too,
Yeah.
man. Shout out to Zion.
And his skin looks clear. Like, I mean, I was like,
All
okay.
right, okay. You know what? I will say this: we haven't heard anything about his private life,
Right.
so
That's good.
maybe there's some joy under the sheets behind the.
All right, you
Maybe
let us
he's
know.
found some normal sized butt cheeks.
We want to hear from you all, not Rodney. We want to hear from you all on what do you make of Zion Williamson dropping down to his pre-draft weight. Do you feel like this is something that he's going to keep up? Or are
Yeah,
you like Rodney and you may be a little worried? We
them
want
BBL girls be eating too much. That's what happened. He got rid of them BBL girls. Now he eating salads. Okay, Zion, I see you, my boy. Man, it would be highly inappropriate to do this show without mentioning that the GOAT Diana Taurasi is retiring. DT is, in my opinion, the greatest woman hooper of all time. And there was a point where I legitimately felt like she could have got some buckets in the NBA if she so chose. I grew up a Tennessee Volunteers fan, which means I had to hate the UConn Huskies women's basketball team. But DT always made me tap into their games because her game was just so cold. So Samaria, I gotta ask, do you feel like DT, Diana Taurasi, is the greatest woman hooper of all time?
Yeah, I mean, when you think of women's basketball, you think of her. Like, I literally had to write down like a fraction of some of her honors and awards. I mean, 20 years, right? 20 seasons in Phoenix. That's crazy. 3-time WNBA champion, 2-time finals MVP. She's won league MVP honor once.
She only had one
It was
league
on,
MVP?
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know it is crazy. But she won College Player of the Year twice as well. She's just a revolutionary women's basketball player. And I really hated towards the end of her career when people were kind of pushing her to retire. I really hated that because I was like, y'all, why don't y'all realize like the greatness that we get to see when she steps on the floor? Like, why are y'all sitting here trying to get her to retire? But yeah, I mean, she for sure is the greatest, one of the greatest, if not the greatest women's basketball player of all time, for sure.
I think she's had the greatest career. In terms of games, there's some
Yeah.
conversation around whether or not Maya Moore is actually the better basketball player, right? Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Maya retired early in her career to, do some other things. But in terms of impact, I think that Diana Taurasi had a Kobe-like impact on the league. She came in post Cheryl Swoops and Cynthia
Mm-hmm.
Cooper and Tina Thompson, right? Like she was that next face that carried the league into the next chapter and iteration of itself. And she was an inspiration for so many women. Between her and I'll never forget that backcourt where her and Cappie Pondexter, that was like the original Stephen Clay. Like it was that it was like Kyrie and KD being on Brooklyn together. It was that level of skill, of shot making. Yeah, I have these conversations in my group chat because every group chat
I
has
hate
that
this
guy
group chat.
who
I hate it.
thinks that there's not a person or a woman alive that can beat them in basketball. And I have a friend named Daryl who swears up and down to this day that he would have beat Diana Taurasi 1-on-1, and it's cap.
Of course, it's Daryl. Of course, his
Yeah,
name is Daryl.
that's my man.
I want to ask you though, like we talk about Caitlin Clark in the way that she kind of just took the league by storm. We're witnessing that in real time right now. But who do you feel like was bigger? Do you feel like it was Caitlin Clark, or do you feel
It's
like it
Caitlin
was
Clark.
Diana Taurasi? Okay.
It's Caitlin Clark, and it's not even because Caitlin Clark is necessarily better than
Yeah.
Diana Taurasi. I just think the tools that are at the disposal of Caitlin Clark allow for her to be, just bigger. There's some people who, if you were alive when Michael Jackson was performing still and making music still, then you know that Michael Jackson was the biggest thing on earth. But in terms of like sheer volume of numbers, because of social media and technology, now, like, there are some artists who maybe, their numbers are very similar as far as like streaming and how they perform in concerts. So, just social media changes the way we get to interact with people like Caitlin Clark and Diana, unfortunately, did not have that. Or fortunately, because she's like the Charles Barkley of the WNBA. Let me just be very clear. Like, Diana Taurasi be saying some wild stuff. She ain't no shy, cutesy. No. She gonna let you know how she feel about everything. Mad inappropriate. What do you think about the possibility of her being a member of the media? I think that's obviously gonna happen. You would think, right?
I think so. As long as she's gonna be unbiased, because there's some women. We've talked about a few on this platform, but even like Rebecca Lobo sometimes.
You pivoted. Why you just pivot? Where you just go? Or you was going somewhere and you stopped.
No, I was just saying that there are some women that we've talked about on this platform, so I don't need to bring them up again. But I was saying one person that we haven't talked about is Rebecca Lobo, and I think that sometimes she may be a little biased, just a little bit. Okay. So if Diana can come in and not show her, but like, you can't do no UConn games if she does college. You can't be biased.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she'll be kind of like a Candace Parker. I think I love what Candace Parker does on TNT. She knows the game inside and out. It doesn't matter if we're talking about men's or women's. I think Diana Taurasi has a very similar lens and a very similar skill set in that she's not going back down from nobody. The thing that I love about Candace is it doesn't matter if it's Chuck, Shaq, Kenny, don't matter who she's around. She's going to let you know that she knows who she is. And it's that level of arrogance and self-confidence, not arrogance, self-confidence that Diana has always had on the court that I think will translate into whatever seat that she occupies in the media space.
I think the only thing is that, like, Candace does not, like, she's not said any wild things like you just said about Diana. So I wonder how that's she has not, because there was you don't remember that whole big thing with Diana Taurasi talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and how they were going to translate. Yeah. And a lot of people felt like that rubbed them the wrong way. So I'm saying, like, Candace hasn't had like any controversial things like that.
No.
So I wonder how that's gonna.
But there are some people who are so great that it doesn't matter what they say. Somebody is always going to want them to be a part of the conversation, right? They warrant that level of respect. And if there's anybody in any sport, regardless of gender, who warrants your respect, is Diana Taurasi. So even if she asks you something wild, you're going to be more inclined to answer it because of who she is. And that's what we want to see now. That's where we are in the media. We want to see people have conversations that can extract information from athletes and entertainers who ordinarily would not give, So I think she'll have a phenomenal second career, and I look forward to seeing it, man. And sad day. Like, this was, between her and Candace Parker, Shamika Holdsclaw, Dawn Staley, those were like my childhood woman athlete crushes, and they're all gone from sport, playing. And so it's a sad day for me. I'm getting old because they getting old.
Are y'all the same age?
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Anyway. Y'all let us know your thoughts on the retirement of one Diana Taurasi. How do you think she'll fare in the next chapter of her career as a member of the media? And also, is she the greatest women's basketball player of all time? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section.
Yeah, speaking of athletes in the media, 76ers star Paul George is announcing that he's taking a break from podcasting. According to his show, Podcast P, PG says he's stepping away to focus on his injury rehab and help Philly be in contention for a playoff push. Rodney, at this point, will this even help the Sixers?
If the options were to stop playing basketball this year or stop podcasting, he should have stopped playing basketball. Paul George has looked really bad this year. He needs to sit the hell down. I had high expectations for the Sixers coming into this season, and he was a big part of that. And Paul George has looked like anything other than the Paul George that I've come to know, love, and appreciate. He actually did not say playoff contention. He said championship contention.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
He's stopping podcasting to help the Sixers win a championship. And I don't know if they're going to be demoted to the G League or the NCAA tournament, and that's what he means. But this is crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, wild. We have a show, and so we know that, like, sometimes podcasts can be demanding. And so I always kind of think that it's interesting when players are doing shows in the middle of the season. I just feel like, when are you really having time to, like, do everything that you need to do, especially with watching film? I mean, you're in the NBA, so it's not like the NFL where you only play once a week. You're playing like multiple times a week. So when do you really have time to film the show. I'm sure he has like a whole team of people that are editing and doing all the other things, but I just feel like it could be really demanding. So yeah, I think it's a great idea for him to step away because I'm sure people are talking trash on the court about that.
I can't imagine what the comments section is looking like. Sixers fans are brutal. So you know the comments, the engagement on them posts got to be crazy. But NBA players have hella time on their hands, by the way. Like this is why there's a lot of free time for NBA players. They don't really practice like that, especially anymore.
Well, he needs to be rehabbing and not podcasting.
Yeah, well, even rehabbing you can only do for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of free time for him to do podcasting. I need him to get back in the lab and work on his game. The 76ers have lost 9 straight games. 9 straight games, and some of them are to the worst teams in the league. Right now, it's looking like Cooper Flagg legitimately might end up a Philadelphia 76er or Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey. And so, you know, like if I'm the 76ers brass, I'm going to just sit Joel Embiid down. I'm going to send Paul George back to California so he can bask in the sun, maybe get his powers back. Because right now, it's looking like the Monstars and zapped his boy is looking. If it wasn't for his hairline, if Paul George had a different hairline, he'd be ridiculed a lot more. But that healthy hairline
I know,
really be saving him. Yeah, it's so chef's kiss to the hairline, man. He's lucky. I don't know what's going on with this Sixers team, man. I don't really get it.
I was just going to ask you, like, what can they even do at this point? Because it seems like all hope is lost.
Yeah, this season is over.
But yeah,
this season. And you know what's crazy? You know what's super crazy? This season has been a train wreck, and somehow they are going to end up in the play-in game. They are going to end up in the play-in tourney more than likely because the bottom half of the Eastern Conference is just that piss poor. And so I think that is just a waste of time. It's a waste of time for everybody. They don't want to be there. Joel Embiid needs to be shut down for the season. Obviously, he's moving. Like, I don't know how old Joel Embiid is, but he don't look the age that is on his Wikipedia page.
Okay, wait a second. What is his age? How old is
Joel,
he? Hold on,
I think they got Joel at 30 or 31 or something like 30, 31.
No, this man was born in 1994.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't. Hey, man, it's going to be an interesting thing this offseason. You know, with Luka Doncic being traded, there are a lot of superstars who are no longer going to be as protected as they once were. We have seen one of the faces of the NBA be moved right in the middle of their prime or the beginning of their prime in Luka. And so now teams might not be so married to the idea that they had to keep these players like a Joel Embiid, like a Paul George, like a Ja Morant even on their rosters, you know, throughout the entirety of these 5-year contracts.
So you feel like if the Sixers parted ways with Joel Embiid, that would be a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I think he actually needs to be somewhere else. I think the culture of the Philadelphia 76ers, when he was first drafted, set the precedent for his career, right? He was coddled. He was babied. Mm-hmm. They taught him how to lose before they taught him how to win. And I think all of those things have lended itself to being reflective in who he is today. You know, the care for his body. And some of his injuries are just freaks. So I don't want to make it seem like I know personally if he's a hard worker or not. But I do know that sometimes where you are drafted will dictate how your career goes. And he was drafted into a hopeless situation. And by all measures, it looked like his career is trending in the same direction still.
Yeah. And I feel like Sixers fans need like a refresh, you know, like I hate that they had to trust the process and then the process has ended up with this. So, and unfortunately, when you think of trust the process, you think of Joel Embiid. So I feel like they got to kind of go in a different direction completely for them. I think
he's the last piece. He's the last piece of that process. Philly messed up. They could have drafted a number of different players. They could have drafted Jason Tatum. You know what I mean? Instead, they drafted Markelle Fultz. They could have drafted who was in the Ben Simmons draft? I can't remember. Maybe it was Jaylen Brown. They bombed. There's no other way to say it. But y'all let us know your thoughts on Paul George stepping away from podcasting. Do you think this will help the Philadelphia 76ers in this season with some level of decency and self-respect? Or do you feel like you should have just kept podcasting because the Sixers are going to be asked regardless? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
All right, folks, we've got a very special guest joining us today. He's a former Swedish Basketball League Star of the Year and Pac-12 Sixth Man of the Year. Welcome to the show, Miami Heat shooting guard Pelle Larsson. What's up, cousin?
What's up? Thank you so much.
Yeah. What's up, my guy? Look, that Miami sunshine is treating you quite nicely. There's a lot of talk about Heat culture, man. As you've experienced it so far, how would you define Heat culture?
I think the most apparent thing is like guys coming in from other teams, just noticing the difference. Because for me, it's my first experience. Like, it's all I know about the NBA. So I'm thinking this is the normal way. But I mean, other guys coming in are, telling me like, yeah, this is not how they do it everywhere. Like, this place is pretty special. Of how much everyone cares and is just invested. That's the culture.
In terms of like training, though, is there anything specific that they say that, the culture of the Miami Heat is different from other teams? Is there more cardio, conditioning? Obviously, you guys have a lot of different tests that other teams don't require.
No, I mean, it's nothing crazy to me. Like, we do the body fat and everyone knows about that, but it's nothing crazy. We just try to stay in shape. If you're not playing, you're definitely doing extra, on the bike, playing ones. I think it's just, it's a lot of talk about it, but really it's just, more the family and how everyone's invested. And, we might spend a little bit more time in shoot around, but, we're just trying to be prepared.
I mean, I just kind of want to ask you, like, was it shocking to you the way that things went down with Jimmy Butler? Because you just said it's a family. And
no, I mean, it was unfortunate, especially like coming in at the back end of it a little bit when maybe the relationships weren't what they once was, and it's kind of sad always to see it end up like that. So, but for us, it wasn't as shocking maybe as for the media. We had conversations within the team, and we were ready for anything. We felt like, and now we got a bunch of new guys that are excited to play. So it's all that matters.
Now, you said that you were playing ones in practice, right? It helps you with your cardio. I worked for the Wizards for 5 years, and so I know that NBA players in practice situations and scenarios, they love competing against one another, right? The All-Star game, though, is severely lacking interest and intrigue. Why can we not get NBA guys to play ones in an All-Star weekend setting? Why do you think that is?
No, that's a good question. I mean, for one, I think guys get paid a lot of money to play for their teams and compete, and also the teams don't want to see their guys go out there and get hurt. Like, that's one thing people don't talk about as much. They talk about the players not willing to play, but also, like, I don't want my star player going to All-Star weekend getting hurt either, So if I'm the front office, so
nah, man, I don't want to hear that. Y'all play hard in the summer. You do it after practice. How risky is a king of the court going to be? Honestly,
nah, and that's one thing too. 1-on-1 is probably not the riskiest thing. I think it's more of probably a pride thing, in a game of 5-on-5, you can kind of pick your spots. 1-on-1, you're out there by yourself, so there's no hiding. And I think they just, we get to do a lot of competing within the seasons. Maybe they don't feel like they need that extra little competition. I don't know.
Wait, whose smoke would you duck though? Who's like 2 or 3 guys? You'd be like, you know what?
Me?
Like,
I mean, I got nothing to lose.
I love that.
I'm coming in, guns blazing.
Well, Pelle, thank you so much for coming on with us. Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you for sharing your journey to the NBA. And you all let us know down in the comments who you would like to see on the next episode of The Fumble.
Damn, Samaria. 2 of my favorite people are at odds, and it's hurting my heart, man. Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson and Cameron have taken shots at each other this week all over podcasting, and it's making me sad for a couple of reasons. One, they're too damn old for this, okay? I've always felt like after 35, issues amongst men should be handled in private. And 2, they're both too funny to be so serious about something that is not that serious. So for y'all out there who are unaware, on his show, It Is What It Is, Cam let the whole world know that he does not like Ocho. He flat out said that he is a BAN. If you don't know what that means, the first word rhymes with itch. The second word is ass. And the last one, it rhymes with jigger. And a stupid MF. Now, that would feel super aggressive, right? To call somebody a BAN and a stupid MF. That would feel aggressive if I wasn't from Jersey and haven't been around dudes from Harlem most of my life. That's like hello for them. Okay, so we can't be too offended by that language. But Ocho Cinco, who is normally very fun-loving and lighthearted, was not on that type of time when he responded on Club Shay Shay. He told Cam to pull up on him because he ain't that hard to find, which I was very surprised by because Ocho was always playing and laughing and joking. So I was like, oh, he took this serious. Both of them have been great for a very long time, one in rap, one in football, and both have become elite members of the media with unique perspectives and funny ass stories. So I'm confused as to how they can get this hostile when really all they both do is make jokes 24/7. So Samaria, my question for you in this week's Fumble of the Week is, whose side are you on, Cam or Ocho Cinco?
Okay, so I watched Cameron's clip first, and I was like, okay. But then once I watched Ocho Cinco's, I was like, oh, okay, so this is just a misunderstanding. It's just two different cultures. Like, I feel like maybe in like the athletes, actors, you know, like they always are saying, talk to my agent, call my agent,
Okay,
real quick. You know my agent, call my agent. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's really big in like the athlete culture. Like, y'all talk to my agent, don't talk to me. And that's what Ocho Cinco did initially. He's like, talk to my agent. And Shannon Sharp said the same thing. Yeah, I had to talk to Doug. I guess his name is Doug. I had to talk to Doug to get Chad on the show. And so I think that maybe Cameron thought that was a slight. And then also with Ocho Cinco joking, like, I'm coming for your spot. I think that that's like an athlete thing to say. Like, I personally wouldn't take that as a jab. It's basically him acknowledging that you at the top. I don't know. Like, I just think it's just a misunderstanding. I did not think that warranted that response from Cameron. But Cameron, that's what him and Mace do on the show. And it's very entertaining. And I love it. It's just straight comedy. I don't know. I will say, too, I was very surprised that Ocho Cinco responded like that. That shocked me. I was like, okay, he said, you know where I be? I'm in Miami. You be down here. I'm going to be at Richards. Is it Richards? He said, I'm going to be at Richards on Monday at 5 o'clock. I was like, don't do that.
So just last week, Cam was talking about Dame Dash and how, you know, with all of Dame's success, Dame hasn't handled his relationships with people very well. He's spoken crazy to people. And the irony is in moments like this, Cam really takes a page out of the Dame Dash playbook, which is so ironic. I feel like Cam has 95% moments of brilliance, and then there's like that 5% where he just reverts back to like, you know, Cam from Uptown Harlem, still 17 years old. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say and do whatever I want to do. And even with all the success that he's had the last couple of years on his show, it is what it is. Like, he just will revert back to that version. And I just don't think that this was the incident to warrant that. There have been some other incidents where I feel like when he's, you know, did the ISO and called people out, it was warranted. This one didn't feel quite like that. You know, this is a business at the end of the day. And if Chad goes about his business in a way that is different than how you go about your business, then how can you do anything other than respect that? There's more than enough space for black men and black people in this industry to get money, get chicken. Y'all are two very successful individuals who had money before you started podcasting. And so it shouldn't be this level of hatred, vitriol, this kind of language going on back and forth. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And we got to do better. Yeah.
And Ocho Cinco said, look, whatever you was trying to offer me, I made that and then some. So
yeah, you know what? Who do you think? Do you think? This is a good question for you.
Okay.
Do you feel like It Is What It Is a better show than Club Shay Shay?
Dang. You know, it depends on what it is. Like,
okay.
They're like you said, they're both great in their own right. So like, it is what, like, if I want to go get some laughs or hear two dudes clowning on people, like, it's just jokes. So like, I think that I like that. But if we're talking about maybe more like, if it's more football stuff and we kind of want to get like their perspective on what's happening like in the game or whatever, then maybe I want to hear Shannon and Ocho. But I feel like sometimes, I don't know, sometimes they be kind of off over there. It just depends. Okay. It just depends. Like, I listen to both, but I don't know. Like, I just feel like,
whose show would you rather be a part of?
It is what it is.
And on that note, we're going to get up out of here. Y'all let us know your thoughts on the Cameron and Chad Ocho Cinco situation. Do you feel like Cam is in the right, or do you feel like Chad is in the right? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, beloved.
All right, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for joining us for another great episode of The Fumble. Make sure to subscribe to The Fumble and at The Fumble Sports on all of our social media platforms. You can catch us every Friday right here at The Fumble with myself, Samaria Terry, and my co-host, Rodney Rikai.
Yeah, shout out to Kyrie Irving, man of the people, big jersey. Hella. He's just a great guy.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.